everybody, and welcome to the always my favorite special, which is December's, because we all get to wear goofy hats or have Santa Claus with us. You guys love this. Hopefully, if Greg hasn't put together a bloopers reel from this year, he's planning on doing that by the end of the year, because that is always a highlight for me. Love seeing us act goofy, as if that isn't a normal thing. Welcome to Ham Talk. We have all of us here that you are all accustomed to seeing, and of course JD, our newest addition. I am so excited. So as usual, I am Sam, KE0LMY. This is Miss Melissa.
Hi, KI5ICQ.
Miss Andrea.
Hello, Kilo 2 Echo Zulu.
Now JD.
Hey, JDW1DVZ.
And Greg.
N5XO. Is that better?
And see, I did that whole opening without ragging on you, Greg. I was even nice when I.
But
and
Greg. I thought if Andrea can sing it, I can.
I know.
It turns out my voice isn't as good as hers. Actually, my voice is not good for anything, so we're there.
Well, that you sounded like one of those elves on Santa Claus is Coming to Town or Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
I know everybody's been curious because I've been in and out for the last few months. I'll tell you, there's a lot going on in Missouri right now. If you guys don't know that, just bear with us. It happens. There's been some changes in life, and there have been some changes at the EMA, and there have been some changes with my fire department. So I got a ton of stuff going on right now. I finally got my butt to stay in my seat this time, because as you can see, I'm at the office. And of course I have Santa with me. Now, one of the best things that I think we can do for the month of December is do our Christmas wishes. So I want to kick off the Christmas wishes with my first one, which is, I wish that we continue to not have the S word in Missouri in December. That way I can have the 5 days off I'm supposed to have coming up. Miss Melissa, how about you?
So you don't want no sunshine?
Oh, Greg, I was about
Gotcha, huh?
You did. All right, Melissa, what's your Christmas?
It went darker than that.
Well, I think I'm sitting fairly pretty over here, considering the crazy last couple of years that we've had. So my wish would be that everybody stays healthy and stays with us and has a fantastic 2024. We'll try and make the best of it.
If we make it through December. Okay, hopefully that wasn't long enough to get, copyright struck. Now, Miss Andrea, you got to have one heck of a joke for us for December. So start with that and then tell us your Christmas wish.
Oh, God. Now you caught me really, really on a blank. I mean, I think my wish is for more snow in Texas. Yeah.
Thank you. Please
Why
keep
don't
it
you
over.
take your happy little butt right back up to New Jersey and leave us snow free?
I'm leaving tomorrow, so
why are you wishing disaster on us?
Well,
actually,
what's going to happen?
I would not mind snow if it happened December 23rd and was gone December 27th.
You need to quit saying the S word. I'm telling you, just
snow,
stop
snow,
it.
Snow all the way.
I'm traumatized. All right, JD, let's have our new guy. What his Christmas?
I thought the S word was SWR. I thought that's what that stood for. I've been patenting this summer. I finally got it fixed when I went with new Messy and Poloni jumpers everywhere in the shack. It was down to one little 18-inch piece that was causing a really bad shack monkey that I finally have killed. So the S word here was SWR. Here's what I would like to see. I would like to see every high school in America through their STEM counselor or STEM program or whatever, actually invest in a ham radio setup, just like Tool Time Tim Allen did on his program. What is that program called? I can't remember.
No, that was Last Man Standing.
Thank you. Which I still watch religiously.
Yes.
Best TV ever made. Anyway, and the reason that is because social media is kind of a soul crusher, whereas ham radio, as you can obviously tell from this interaction with the Ham Talk crew, something that is liberating, freeing, and enlightening in ways that can only be described as ecstatic. So there you go.
Awesome. All right, Greg.
You wanted filler, Greg? You got filler.
There you go. Well, this is going to be the first year that I haven't asked for anything amateur radio from Santa Claus.
It's because
I'm
there's
having a hard enough time figuring out where to put everything in my new shack as it is. My room shrank by 8 feet square, so it kind of shrank things down. But I got word that my subscription ran out, so well, that didn't work. There we go. Sort of. All right. Well,
No,
you can't see.
Greg.
There we go. I found the distance. Radcom. It's a UK, their version of ARRL and stuff, and it is a great magazine. If QST was a quarter of this magazine, they would be a good magazine. I'm going to renew that for the 7th year now, and I love it. Beyond that, I don't have any real plans for anything. I've got a dog trying to battle its way in here. It wants to be in here for some reason. But anyway, that's the only thing that I'm doing is I've asked Santa for a renewal on my subscription. And what that means is after I get 5 minutes to think about it, I'll go and renew my subscription.
So I don't want Andrea to be the one that's always getting hurt anymore. So I'll tell you the quick story because I was total klutz. I decided that trying to move something much bigger than myself was a good idea by myself. I was successful in moving said object, but I sprained my finger. And I don't know if you've ever done that. It is exceedingly annoying because even with the brace on, if you bump something, it still hurts. So there is no winning in this situation. Oh, I think that would be a great solution right now. That's
So you said you sprained your finger?
Yeah, kind of.
Is it like a sprain?
Yeah, like a sprain.
Usually what happens with me is like I use my hands as tools and hammers and screwdrivers and stuff, and I'm always doing more than my shrinking body can take. And now that I'm getting older, I mean, I'll pop like blood vessels in my fingers, and it's painful.
Yeah. So
how do you sync code with your continuous wave finger in a cast?
well, the cool thing about it being the finger that I point into fire chiefs' faces when I want them to listen is that now I have reinforcement.
It looks like a loaded gun.
Is that your trigger? Is that the trigger finger?
It is my trigger finger. It makes me sad.
What triggers Sam? We need to know.
Slow people in the fast lane, easily. Stupid people making decisions for many, many people.
Greg.
I'm not going to mention
the United States Congress. Go ahead.
I label it as incompetence.
Incompetence, yes. And finally, that last 18 inches you can't find the bad SWR on.
No comment.
So I think that the coolest thing that I've been able to do this year with amateur radio was probably that full-scale search and rescue exercise back in May, I think it was, here in Camden County. So Melissa, what's the coolest thing you got to do this year with amateur radio?
And did a whole tower project.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really fun. That was fun working with so many people, and there was so much stuff going on, and so projects and side projects and running cables and lifts, and yeah, running in the house to cool off and get snacks.
All right, Andrea, I know you've had several projects this year, but I don't think we classify them as fun. So was there anything fun you had this year?
Well, I'd say the one thing I enjoyed the most this year, radio related, would have been microwave update conference, which was uh, fairly early in the year, and there'd been no conferences that I was able to make for, oh gosh, since the pandemic hit. They kept getting canceled. I couldn't make it to Central States. That was the other one that I think they had that in 22, and I couldn't make 23, even though it was in Arkansas, relatively close. But I really enjoy those things, getting out with a lot of people. Hamvention was, of course, a lot of fun exhibiting there again this year. And unfortunately, my station at home in New Jersey still remains antennaless, and of course,
isn't that sort of a requirement for ham radios? I'm asking for a friend.
yeah, well, I do have a radio station in my car, so that keeps me occupied. Although I had been
Can I ask a general interest question of Andrew?
Mhm.
What happens when you go get your car inspected every year?
New Jersey's an inspection every other year, and believe it or not, New Jersey only does an emissions inspection. And at,
RF emissions or spurious emissions, or what kind of
He's funnier than you.
just an OBD2 whatever pollution check, and since it's just plug in, you know whether it's going to pass or not, and so I just bring it over and they wheel the thing outside the garage and hook it up.
So is the rover back together? Did you get everything put back together?
Yes. After the deer collision, it's all back together. I was facing having to repaint and clean things up on the top, and well, they had it all come off, so it was an opportunity to take care of that bit of maintenance. I probably should have replaced the 2-meter Yagi while I had it down, but that one just needs the elements were replaced, but the feed, there's an upgraded feed which I think would work better than what's there. And so anyway, it's.
Well, I got a question for Rover.
Yeah.
You're in the
When is 905 going in?
Oh.
right?
My typical mean time from equipment purchase till it making it into the vehicle and integrated for contest use is about 20 months. So
And I thought I was procrastinating the shack build here.
Well,
you are perpetually redoing your shack. We're not even touching that subject.
Yeah,
all right,
well,
Jade, the most fun thing you have gotten to do related to amateur radio this year?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Okay, well, that would be my new ICOM 70. Of course, you can't see it, right? That's a photograph I took. That's my new ICOM 7610, which I bought up at HRO. And I bought the little companion booklet here, how to kind of figure out all the knobs and buttons and screens on the ICOM 7610, which everybody that hears me talk on it, they compliment the audio, because I read pages 7 through 14 of the book, and the book's by Andrew Barron in ZL3 Delta Whiskey. And it really pays to take the time to read those 7 pages and go through each and every setup and adjust, about half a dozen things. Because they say it sounds like, FM broadcast quality. I can't believe that on Simon, but that's what they say. And they play it back, they send me audio files. So, if you have an opportunity to get his book, no matter which ICOM you get, you might want to consider that. Also helps to have an ICOM SM50, not a dynamic mic, it's a condenser mic. This is a dynamic mic from Bob Heil, a PR40. And if you go through all that hassle, you'll get a couple of compliments on your audio. So that's what I've done. Now that means I probably need a life if it's that exciting for 2023. Ouch.
Well, at least you don't have dinosaurs
That later.
Back of. All right, Greg. First of all, tell me about the dinosaurs that are obviously missing from your background.
They died.
Oh no, you're not killing them. Nope.
It was horrible. They all died. There was a meteorite,
Nope.
big smoke,
That's
fires, famine.
No.
And I have not done anything exciting this year. My job has consumed me about 14 hours a day, and I get up and it's dark and I go to work, and I come home and it's dark and I go to bed. So basically I sleep. So I'm getting to work on my shack move about 3 hours a week.
Yeah.
You're a Texas Border Patrol agent, aren't you, Greg?
Do what?
You're a Texas Border Patrol agent, aren't you?
Yeah, no.
Oh,
I'm just a person that goes back and forth and spends a lot of time at a desk.
right.
But
Well,
I was hoping to have this shack done, 2 years ago.
Oh yeah, no, Greg, you're never going to be back.
No, I until I retire, I don't think I will ever have time to finish.
No. Well, I'll put some perspective on timing for this year and why I've been MIA so much. I have the 3rd highest number of call runs for our fire department right now. The only 2 people that I'm behind is the chief and the deputy chief. So I have been running my little butt off. That's very little time to get to play with fun toys like all of the ham radios that I keep here at the EMA, which, I'm really tempted to start getting you guys to come up this way, and we're going to trick out my radio room. Come on up to Missouri. Stop by on your way through, Andrea.
How many years?
We're real glad to see you here today, Sam, for sure. We've missed you.
Yeah, it's good to have you back.
Thank
All right,
you.
well,
Yeah.
let's go ahead and hit a couple segments. Miss Samantha's got a segment today, and I've got a segment. Mine is with Mark Smith, N6MTS, and he has Halibut, I think I'm pronouncing that right, Electronics, and they make some pretty cool products for amateur radio, and they're working on a station console and things. So let's go ahead and go into my interview with him, and he's describing his products. This month, my guest is Mark Smith, N6MTS. Welcome to the show, Mark.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
I'm a little bit interested in some of your background, how you got into amateur radio, how long you've been a ham, and what got you motivated.
Yeah, so I've been a ham since 1992 when I was in high school. My boss for the company I was working at the time was a ham, and he convinced me and one of the other guys working at the shop to study up and get our ham licenses. And so I think it was the summer between my junior and senior years in high school, I went out and got my ham license. And I used it a little bit while I was in high school, but just me and that one other guy were hams, and then a bunch of other people around town that I didn't know, but I hopped on the repeaters a couple of times or whatever. But it wasn't until college that I really got deep into ham radio. I joined W6BHC, the Cal Poly Amateur Radio Club in San Luis Obispo, California, and was very active in that through my 6.5-year bachelor's program. yes, it took me that long to get a bachelor's degree. I regret nothing. And managed to find jobs here in San Luis Obispo, California. San Luis is about right on the coast, halfway between San Jose and Los Angeles. So it's not in one of the big cities. It's a relatively small area, relative for California anyway. And I met my wife in college, and we both found jobs here and have managed to stay here. And so that's where I live now still. I was in IT, either software development or network engineering and system administration, some software development and project management and various other things, but all computer related, computers and networks, for my career for about 30 years. 25 to 30 years, depending on how you count it. And back in 2001, I left the IT industry and decided to start my own business designing ham radio electronics, because designing a business during a global semiconductor shortage, or starting a hardware business during a global semiconductor shortage seemed like a good idea. And so here I am, and Halibut Electronics is that, and I've been doing it for about 2 years now. And I've got several products, one product line of which I would love to talk about today.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. You got into ham radio because of a job, and I got a job because of ham radio. I actually got a job at Heathkit here in San Antonio.
Nice.
In 76, and I worked there until I went into the Navy and stuff. And I got it because I had built 2 of their amateur radio products, and
Yeah.
he asked me if I had any knowledge of kit building, and I'm like, well, yeah, 2 of yours.
Yeah.
And if I could afford it, I'd be working on that color television on that.
Yeah.
How did you decide to get into hardware designing and stuff in spite of a chip shortage?
So in college, I've always, I was a nerd. I was doomed to be a nerd my entire life. My dad worked for IBM for 32 years. My mom was a network administrator at the local high school. So I've been into computers literally my entire life. And I also got into hardware, like designing when I was really little, hooking up batteries and lights and things. My dad got me a 50-in-1, the old Radio Shack kits where you can, move the spring over, put the wire in, and connect it to, build up little tiny circuits, and then I had the book with all of the projects in it. And I've been doing that since I was a little kid. And so when I got into college, I started out with electrical engineering was my first major. And I did that for 2 years until the computer engineering program at my college finally got accredited. Once they got accredited, then I switched over to computer engineering because I also wanted to have a software background. So I did kind of this combination between hardware and software. And then with ham radio, I was always, it had been my hobby through those 25 years of IT work. And so I was always making projects here or there. And through the late 90s and early 2000s, I was living with a guy who owned a company that did hardware design down in San Luis Obispo. Shout out to Bill. Hey, Bill, how you doing? And he and I would just chat in the evenings about electronics and circuits and things that we wanted to build. And we would just sit there and bounce ideas off of each other. And explain things to each other and learn from each other. I learned way more from Bill than he did from me, I suspect. But he was the one who encouraged me and kind of motivated me to build my first circuit board and design my first circuit board and lay it out in the program and send it off to be fabricated, and get it back, assemble it, and put it in service. It was an interface board for a Kenwood D700 to a GPS that did not have NMEA data output. So Bionics made a little 8-pin chip that would translate the binary output from this super cheap GPS into NMEA. So I needed that plus the RS-232 adapter. to go into the radio, and the GPS wanted a battery, so I put that on the board as well. And then I still had a bunch of space on the board left over, so I added audio interfacing so that I could take the microphone and headphones that were in my helmet and interface that to the radio with a PTT on the handlebars. So, you know, I'm sitting there like this with my hands on the handlebars, and there was just a thumb button for the PTT. It was super convenient. And so now I had a APRS capable radio on my motorcycle, and this is circa 98, 99. Like, that certainly was not common at the time. And so that, I thought that was really cool, or maybe it was 2000, 2001, somewhere in that area. And that was my first circuit board. And so I've just been kind of doing little projects here and there ever since. I'm really into audio. I've designed several headphone amplifiers that I've made, had circuit boards made for various other ham radio projects, you know, digital projects, microcontroller projects and whatnot. So I've been doing this for a very long time, but it's always been a hobby. I've never been paid to do it. So when I left my former employer at the end of 2001, I decided to take some time off and just kind of decompress. I kind of got burned out on IT and InfoSec and various things. And so I wanted some time off, and I decided to work on some personal projects that I had been neglecting. And one of those personal projects turned into the business.
Oh, that worked. Hey,
yeah,
you
so,
turn your
you know,
hobby into your job and get paid for it. That's when it works.
I haven't gotten paid for it yet. I still need to work on that.
Well, you know, there's baby steps.
2 years into it, I'm still living off of savings, but, you know, getting there.
Well, a couple things when I first ran into you that caught my attention was standardizing headphone equipment. And then also you and I had chatted just a little bit in email about station console and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll shut up and let you kind of tell us a little bit about your company and your products and everything.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you. So before I talk about my product line, I need to explain another thing that I'm doing. We have standards for power, DC power, you know, 13.8 volts plus or minus 15%. We got standards for RF, 50 ohm coax. What we don't have standards for is the interface between the radio and the user, right? If you go out and buy yourself a fancy, expensive headset from Heil or whomever, you can't just go plug that into your radio. There isn't a radio that you can just go plug that into. You need to get an adapter that goes from that headset to that radio. And that works if you've got a relatively small number of headsets and radios. But if I ever want to take my headset that has my ear goobers in it and take it to your station and plug my headset into your station, I don't know what adapters I need ahead of time. Or think of like a club station or an EOC or a field day event, right? Where every individual is coming with their own headsets, and you don't want to swap headsets because of ear goobers. But you don't necessarily know what radio you're going to plug it into. And so you need to have, I would love to have a standard interface between the headset and the radio. So ideally, the headset manufacturers would adopt this standard natively, and the radio manufacturers would adopt this standard natively, and you just be able to literally take a headset, plug it into a radio, and you're done. I'm working on that, but it's going to take a long time. I fully acknowledge that that's not going to happen overnight. So instead, what I have decided to do is take that one adapter that goes from the headset to the radio and split it into two different halves. So I've got an adapter that goes from whatever my headset is to a standard interface. And then I've got the other adapter that goes from whatever the radio is to the standard interface. And that adapter for that radio stays with that radio. And that adapter for that headset stays with that headset. And now I've got a standard interface between the two. And if you put that adapter on every single radio and another adapter on every single headset, now every single headset and every single radio are presenting standard interfaces in the middle. and I can connect this headset to any radio, right? So we're still using adapters, but it is one adapter per device that stays with that device. It is unique to that device, and it stays with that device forever. And now that device can plug into any other standards compliant device. So this standard that I've written up is called OHIS, Open Headset Interconnect Standard. You can learn more the details of OHIS at ohis.org. The standard is published there. I've got a link to a mailing list that I have on the standard. There hasn't been a lot of activity, and that webpage needs a lot of work, but the standard is there, and the discussion group is there, and then one video from me that goes into a lot of details on the standard. Because we've only got so much time for this particular lunch and learn, I'm going to leave out the details of the standard itself. Go to ohis.org if you want more details on that. But where this does come in handy, first off, those adapters that I'm talking about, I sell those adapters. The standard is open. Anyone can use the standard. Anyone can build devices that use the standard. There is no licensing. There's no anything on there. So someone else can go out and build adapters. I'm the one who's pushing for this, so obviously I'm the only one who's selling adapters at this point. I would love to be able to report that somebody else is building adapters. I sell the headset side adapter, which I call the HHI User Pro. HHI stands for Halibut Headset Interconnect, which is my product line that uses all the OHIS stuff. So HHI User Pro, which is the headset adapter, and HHI Radio Pro, which is the radio side adapter. I sell both of those plus a bunch of cables and other things to make your entire shack standards compliant if you are interested in doing so. All of those products can be found at electronics.halibut.com. Got to throw the plug in. Okay, so now that you've got a standard interface between the user and the radio, this also makes it much easier to build a device that goes between the user and the radio, right? Before this, without a standard, I now need to make my user side interface generic enough to work with any headset or with any microphone and speaker or whatever interface you like to use. And similarly, on the radio side, I need to make the radio side generic enough to work with any radio, or configurable enough to work with any radio, whether it expects a dynamic mic or an electric mic or a carbon mic, whether it has a speaker output or a headphone output or a line level output, all of those complexities. Every single device or every single port on every single device that I build that goes between the two would need all of that complexity in it. With OHIS, I've abstracted all of that complexity out into those adapters that can be used for a lot of other things as well. And now I have one consistent electrical interface in the middle. And that allows me to build other devices that go between the user and the radio much more simply. So the one that you were talking about is called the station console, or is what as a product that I'm calling the station console. It is multiple radios, probably 4 or 5, somewhere around there. I'm going to try and make it expandable if I can, but multiple radios on one side and then one user port on the other side. And so you plug in your headset or your microphone and speakers or whatever it is that you like through your user side adapter. You plug that into the user side of the station console, and then you plug in all your radios on the radio side of the station console. And all of the output from the radios gets mixed together, sent through their own volume knobs, and sent into your headset. And so now you can hear all your radios. And if you want to mute a radio, you can hit the mute button or turn the volume down, or just turn the volume down on the radio, whatever you want. And then your microphone will get amplified and split and sent to all the radios all the time. And then the only thing that really needs to be controlled is PTT. You will select which radio gets the PTT. So if you want to key up on radio 1, you turn the knob over to radio 1, and that radio gets the PTT. And so when you hit PTT on your user device, it keys up that radio. I don't know whether that's literally going to be a knob or a button press or something. I'll figure that out. But that's the station console. Multiple radios in, all of the audio for all into a single headset. And then the other device is Station Console is something that I'm going to be working on very soon. Since moving into my new shop, I now need my Station Console more than ever for reasons I won't bore you with, but I am now personally motivated to design the Station Console.
Well, I'm happy to hear that, because one of my biggest gripes is every brand radio requires a different microphone cable and everything else.
Yeah.
And so it adds to the complexity of trying to get down to one microphone.
Yeah. The Station Console and radio adapters are definitely what you want to solve that problem. The other console that I am already selling, this is already available on electronics.halibut.com, is what I call the contesting console, where the Station Console is multiple radios, one user. The contesting console is the opposite. It's 2 users, 1 radio. Okay. And so the users, you plug in 2 different headsets into the sides, and each user has their own little 4-channel mixer for their headphones. And the inputs to that 4-channel mixer are the radio audio. So obviously both users can listen to the radio audio. They can listen to the other user's microphone. So they have an intercom between them. Then they can also listen to their own microphone if you want some side tone, so you're not yelling into the microphone. You can hear yourself. And then the fourth input is what I call the ambient mic. It's just a little MEMS microphone that's on the device itself, so you can hear what's going on around you. So like if somebody comes up to the station while you're operating and wants to talk to you, do you want a hamburger or a hot dog, whatever. You can just turn that up really quickly to hear them and then turn it back down again. So in a nutshell, that's what the contesting console is. So it allows 2 users to use a single radio. They can both hear the radio. They can both hear each other. So like normally you would have an operator and a logger, and oftentimes, sorry, I got a bug flying in my face. Oftentimes you would have, the logger saying, was that a Kilo November or Kilo Mike, whatever. The 2 can talk to each other and discuss what they're hearing. And then the other feature is that there is a power amplifier for an external speaker, so that you can hook up an external speaker to this thing, and then it's got a volume knob for the radio. So anybody who's walking by and wants to listen in on what's going on the QSO, they can hear the operators, obviously, because the operators are talking out loud, but they won't necessarily be able to hear the radio. And so there's just a knob you can turn up and listen to the radio. You hear the full QSO as like a demonstration to people around. Or if you just want to keep the things quiet because it's nighttime in field day, you turn that volume down and you make it more quiet. So all of that is the contesting console, and that is currently available. But that's another example of a device that is so much easier to design and build with a standard interface between the user and the radio.
Yeah.
So OHIS enables all that.
What kind of ballpark price range and stuff are these looking at?
So the contesting console is $200, $199. I hate the whole subtract 1 from prices, but I had people talk me into doing it, so whatever. $199 for the contesting console. The radio adapters, for business reasons I won't bore you with, are more expensive than I wanted them to be. They're $225 each per radio. And then the user adapters are $80 each. I got all the parts for right before I started moving into my shop, and haven't had a chance to do it yet because I've been moving into my new shop. I got all the parts for a open source user adapter kit that I've designed. So the HHI User Pro is a final product, not a kit. You can buy it pre-configured for lots of different headsets, very common headset options. That's the one that's $80. I'm also designed an open source version of a user adapter that doesn't have all the spiffy features that the Radio Pro does, or the User Pro does, excuse me. But it has the basic adapter functions. And I will be releasing the design files of that for free so people can see how the adapter works and what's going on inside. I will also be selling those parts as a kit. So if $80 is more than you want to spend on every headset, then hopefully this kit, I don't have a price for it yet because I don't know what my full BOM is going to be yet, but it will be much less than 80. I feel comfortable saying it'll be less than 40. I just don't know how much less than 40. So I'm working on making that available. However, it is not in a snazzy plastic case. It is a stack of circuit boards. You've got one circuit board in the middle that actually has all the components on it, and then standoffs and screws with a plain circuit board on the bottom and a plain circuit board on the top, so that you're not touching all of the components. But that's a lot cheaper than a nice plastic case. And it's a kit, so you have to solder all the parts on. They are all through-hole parts, so it should be simple for even novice solderers or assembly kit builders to put one together. So I'm working on that, and I'm going to be working on an open source radio adapter, although that one is more difficult for reasons I won't get into right now because we're running out of time. Okay. So hopefully cheaper versions will be coming soon, but they will be less featureful and more assembly required cheaper versions.
Some assembly required, right?
Yeah.
Do you have any of the products that you can show our viewers?
I do. So we talked about the Radio Pro and the User Pro. This is a Radio Pro. You know what? Let me take it out of the bag. This is the Radio Pro. This is the adapter that converts whatever connections your radio has, whether it's the 8-pin round or an RJ45 or a 3.5 millimeter microphone, 3.5 millimeter speaker, or some radios have an external PTT on a separate connector, like my Flex does. So you connect all of these into the radio and then hook it up to power, obviously. And then it presents an OHIS compatible RJ45 on the other side. So that is an OHIS port. Your microphone, your headphones, and your PTT and some power are all in that port right there. It also presents the same connectors that were on the back that connect up to your radio are exposed on the front as well. Because when you plug in a cable from that to the microphone port on your radio, you can no longer use the normal mic that usually plugs into your radio on your radio. And I didn't want to remove that functionality. So that port that connects to the radio is also passed through to the exact same physical port on the front. So you can plug your radio's stock microphone into this port here and still use it like normal. But you can also use an OHIS headset. The receive audio gets sent to both. The microphone audio, that whichever PTT is pressed, it sends that microphone audio through to the radio.
Okay.
More accurately, it always sends it usually sends the pass-through microphone audio to the radio until you hit PTT on OHIS. Once you hit PTT on OHIS, then it switches the microphone over to the OHIS mic.
Okay.
So it's, normally closed is on the pass-through mic, normally opened is on the PTT, on the OHIS mic. But this is the Radio Pro. It is configured internally using a small board called what I call the config board, which has this giant field of jumpers. Every pin on every connector shows up as a row on this matrix, and every signal, like headphone ground, headphone left, headphone right, mic ground, mic plus, etc., those show up as columns in the matrix. And so you connect a signal to a pin by dropping a little blob of solder at that intersection. I use 0 ohm resistors to have the factory do it for me, but it's the same thing. Little blob of solder at that intersection to connect that signal to that pin. So literally any pinout can be configured on these ports. And then there are trim pots in there as well that allow you to adjust microphone levels and speaker levels and all that kind of fun stuff.
That would actually be pretty handy just in the shack. My wife and I both share, and we like to go to headphones. And right now it's a pain because we got to unhook the mic, plug the headphone in, plug the microphone speaker in, or the speaker output and stuff. It'd be nice to be able to just plug it in and continue operating.
Yeah.
Without having to unplug everything.
For the receive audio on this, you can use the pass-through and the OHIS at the same time.
Okay.
The OHIS is a high impedance tap on the audio coming from the radio. So if it passes through, to a speaker or to headphones or whatever it is that's on the other that is the native signal, the OHIS stuff isn't going to draw that down. So it's not like you're going to have two headphones connected in parallel. The OHIS port feeds it through its own amplifier. So it has its own headphone amplifier in here to drive the OHIS signal.
Okay.
So,
and you said that was $199?
This is $225.
$225. Okay.
So the Radio Pro is $225. The User Pro, again, in its bag. Let's take it out of the bag. I can put this back in later. This is a much smaller handheld device. So the idea being that you plug in the OHIS cable here, and then you can plug in your headsets here. So it's got a headphone and a microphone and a PTT. Again, that headphone and microphone are actually completely configurable. You can put any signal on any pin. There's a similar field of jumpers in this box that you can use to configure what signal is on what pins. The PTT connector is always a PTT. That's hard-coded to be always a PTT, just contact closure between tip and sleeve. And then this box, I designed it so that it can be your handheld PTT. So there's a little yellow PTT button on the box itself. You have a cable coming out here that goes to the radio or the radio adapter, and then your headset plugs in here, and this can be your handheld PTT if you want. If you don't like this in your hand as your PTT, like I said, there is a 3.5 millimeter here that you can plug in a foot switch or whatever other external PTT you want to use. And this can be configured for any headset, whether it takes electret or dynamic, no matter what the pinout is. And then there's a mic level there, a trim pot to adjust the mic level. And the two LEDs on that socket are actually a VU meter. So you adjust that mic level trim pot until the green light goes on most of the time and the yellow light doesn't go on or only flickers every once in a while. So, it's got a built-in VU meter for adjusting the mic level so that you know that your microphone signal going toward the other side is within OHIS spec.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. I bought the one unit. I've got my Heil microphone, got my Heil, they plug directly into that unit. And then my wife comes in and she wants to use one of the radios in a separate conversation. So we plug in our headsets. Of course, right now they've got the standard Heil output stuff, the microphone connector and everything. Where do you get the adapter to meet your standards?
Sorry, I got a little bit lost there. So she has her own headset?
Well, yeah, all right. I've got your unit right there, okay?
So which one? You're talking about the User Pro?
No, the other one.
The Radio Pro.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Okay, you got that.
I've got that. I'm in the shack. I'm talking on the microphone and using the speakers. She comes in, she's going to use one of the radios. So we decide to go to headphones, and we want to plug into that adapter that you've got, but the Heil headsets that we have don't have that functionality.
So that's what this is for.
Okay, so you go through that and then plug that into the other unit?
Correct. So we've taken, Heil sells a headset adapter that goes from the Heil input on one side to a specific radio on the other side, right? And you need to have a different adapter for every different radio that you want to use that headset on. This what the OHIS model is to take that one adapter and split it into two.
Okay.
And use the standard interface in the middle. So this is the headset side of that adapter. So you plug your headset into here. You configure this for that specific headset, regardless of what radio it is.
Okay.
Only you configure this for the headset, and now you have a standard interface on your headset.
And that plugs directly into the other box.
Yeah. So those two ports, those two RJ45s right next to each other, connect to each other. This is the user side OHIS port, and that's the radio side OHIS port.
Okay.
So you would need one of these per radio and one of these per headset.
Okay.
Once you have that, then any one of these can plug into any one of these.
All right.
And you don't have to make any adjustments after you're done.
Okay.
Well, let me rephrase. Once you set it up the first time, you don't have to make any adjustments as you change the configuration of your shack around.
Okay. All right. Well, that looks pretty handy.
Oh, and then contesting console. So I don't have any built up right now because I still need to do some rework on these boards before they get shipped out to customers. And so far, I've only been doing that one at a time. So I just pulled this from my stock. But it goes into the same case as this. So it'll look very much like this with the end panels on both sides like this. I can't tell which one it is. I think this side here, this entire side here, kind of between that line and that line, is an aluminum panel that slides out. Imagine replacing that aluminum panel with another panel like this. These are just circuit boards, but another panel like that, and that all of these pots, these volume knobs, stick out from the face of this box. Does that make sense? So the control surface is right here, is on the big flat surface of the box.
Right.
I really I wish I had one of these that was built up right now, but I don't. So there's a panel that goes on top of here. Then, the left user has their 4 volume knobs for radio, the other operator themselves, and the ambient mic. And then the right operator has radio, the other operator themselves, and ambient mic. So each operator has their own mixer. This is where they plug in their headsets to. And then this is the port to the radio and the volume knob for the external speaker. Right? Okay. So this is the external speaker that gets audio from the radio. And then, of course, Anderson power poles, because power pole the world. But that's the contesting console. These are selling right now. The adapters are selling right now. The one that you and I are both really interested in is the station console, and that's coming next.
Okay. Yeah, I'm very interested in that, where I can plug in. We've got 2, 4, 6 radios that are the primary station, and then we've got a couple other radios for special functions like WinLink and stuff.
Yeah.
But so I'm voting for a 6 radio unit.
So what I think I'm actually going to do is make it some reasonable number of inputs, but make it expandable. And I haven't figured out exactly how to do that yet. It's a mixer bus, and you can just keep adding inputs to a mixer bus. So it's a matter of how do I expose that mixer bus in a way that lets you daisy chain multiple modules together. I got to figure that out yet, because I have 2 radios in my rack over there. I got a Flex 6400 and my Kenwood D700 that are no longer right next to my computer. Like, I used to have them literally right next to my computer, and so I could just reach over and grab the hand mic and use it, or plug my headset in or whatever, right? Now it's on the other side of the shop. So I want to get the audio from those 2 radios, both headphone and microphone audio, from there to my desk. I've also got 3 computers on my desk now. I've got my primary Linux laptop with 4 monitors total. And then I got 1 monitor up here with Windows and one monitor down here with Mac OS. So I want to get audio from all 3 of those, mix them together, send it into the station console. That's the other thing. A radio in OHIS parlance doesn't have to actually be a radio. It can be any device that generates a headphone signal and consumes a mic signal, right? So one of my intentions is to design a OHIS port on one side, USB to the computer on the other side. USB sound card to a computer on the other side. And so your radio can just be a sound card on a computer for, digital modes, all-star, or just listening to music while you're working, right? Like there's no reason you can't do that sort of thing as well. So,
Okay.
And in fact, I'm actually working with a guy, G1LRO. I think I want to confirm that I'm doing his call sign correctly. Hold on. Mark Herbert is his name. Oh, bloody hell. Where is he? Nope, not there. Oh, come on. Give me your call sign. It's in one of these emails.
Yeah, I have that same problem all the time.
I think he's
When I want
G1LR.
something, it's not there, and then the second I don't need it, it pops up everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, Mark, forgive me if I get your call sign wrong. I think he's G1LRO. Mark Herbert is his name. He made a device called the Universal Radio Controller, and he sells it on eBay in the UK. But he is not interested in figuring out how to do international shipping and customs and all that fun stuff. However, I already do international shipping and customs and whatnot. His universal radio controller is a USB port to the computer that has a serial port module on it that you can use for programming HTs, like the like Anytone or the TYTs or whatever, where you have to plug a USB cable into the headset ports on your radio. It's that radio controller. AIOC, I think, is the open source module that he's extending. But he's also got a bunch of other sound stuff on there. And in the 2.0 version of his boards, he added OHIS ports on it. So it will actually act as an OHIS user adapter. So you can have an OHIS user adapter on a USB port. So it'll look like a headset on a USB port, which is different than the radio side USB port, which is what I was originally describing. But anyway, this universal radio controller is already available in the UK. He's not interested in figuring out international shipping. I already do international shipping. So he has granted me a license to distribute his product worldwide, basically, anywhere that he doesn't sell it. So outside of UK, Ireland, possibly Europe. I'll have to go iron out the details, or he may have already sent it to me in email. I just haven't figured it out yet. But I will be selling the Universal Radio Controller, which also uses OHIS. So if you have an OHIS compliant radio, you can hook up this Universal Radio Controller to that radio. And it works. It's one of the first devices designed and sold with OHIS port on it natively.
All right. Well, that sounds pretty good. Well, I'll tell you what, when you get your station console done, please email me, and I'll be one of your first purchasers for that.
Yeah.
Because definitely can put that to use here. Right now, we've got 2 arms with 6 microphones each on them. And it makes it, A, very heavy.
Yep.
And B, takes up a lot of real estate, which tends to block the displays of the screens and stuff you're trying to look at. So it's something that I'd like. Well, I really appreciate you joining us and telling us about the product. I'm excited about a few of them. In fact, maybe going over that headphone adapter and stuff so that we can do that, because that would solve a key problem that we have currently in the shack.
Yeah.
So any final notes you want to tell anybody, your website, how to buy from you?
Yeah. Electronics.halibut.com. I think if you just go to halibutelectronics.com, it'll redirect you to the less conventional URL, electronics.halibut.com. I'm on Mastodon. You can hit me up at smitty@halibut.com, SMITTY @halibut.com. Or you can just send me an email, mark@halibut.com.
I
That's
think
a
you've
bit.
got some links on your QRZ page too, correct?
Yes. I have no idea how out of date they are, but yes. My address is definitely good on QRZ, and by the time this goes out, I will make sure that all of the other links are good on QRZ as well.
All right. Well, we really appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining us this month. And hopefully it'll continue to spread the word of your products.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate you having me on.
All right. You have a real good evening.
You as well.
But the products he's got are pretty cool, as you just saw, and stuff. And I'm really looking forward to the station console coming out. All right, back to you, Miss Sam, because you got a segment too.
I do. I know it's going to shock some people, but believe it or not, that segment was shot like 2 months ago. It was sitting on YouTube waiting for Greg to come kidnap it 2 months ago, because I figured that's an easier way for me to get it to him than trying to put it in Dropbox and bring it back down and do all the stuff. So now I just put it over on some little channel I've got. But yeah, 2 months ago, we were doing an exercise, a full-scale exercise here at the Emergency Operations Center in Camden County. And amateur radio and the radio room were lit up for it. And it was pretty interesting. So if you want to follow up after the segment, on emacamdenmo.org, we put our after action reports and everything like that on there. And you can see how we're planning on making some upgrades to our radio room after next year.
Sorry, I've got a dog that is demanding his ears be scratched.
You're supposed to say, "Oh my God, that was fascinating."
Oh my God, that was fascinating. Well, let's go to your segment.
Hello, everybody. KE0LMY here. I have not done an episode in I don't know how many months, and I am sure that Greg is just losing his mind. He's actually going to get one this time. Hi. I am sunburned, all kinds of pink, if you can see that. Yeah. I just did 2 days straight of traffic control in Warsaw, Missouri for Heritage Days, and whew, I think as I get older, there might be more pain involved in doing these long things. The reason why I want to actually talk about Heritage Days and what we did is because we partnered with the Camden County CERT, and EMA partnered with the Benton County ARIES to provide radio communications for our traffic control people during Heritage Days. So I'll break it down a little bit for you guys. We have an area up at the Truman Dam called the Truman Dam Visitor Center. And then just below that, down on the Dam Boulevard, the Dam Boulevard, we have a road that goes down below the dam so that visitors can actually take pictures of the gates and the water coming out, because everybody loves that. It looks amazing. But it becomes a choke point during Heritage Days because we don't allow a lot of visitors up where they're doing Heritage Days by the visitor center, because the whole area is in costume from the original settlement of Warsaw, and they do things like churning butter, and there's a blacksmith there, there's an old Civil War camp that they put on, and it's really cool because they fire off the cannon and everything. So they have a replica of one of the Civil War cannons. It's very, very cool. If you haven't been there and you're thinking about coming to Missouri in October, very cool. The other half of Heritage Days is down in Warsaw proper, down by the courthouse and in Drake Harbor. And it's a ton of people who just hand make a lot of stuff, and everybody's got their tents up. And it was huge this year. So I think they did an amazing job. The part that we handle is, of course, the traffic that goes up to the visitor center. And one of the things that we noticed last year is instead of having to constantly try to figure out when and where the buses were coming out, we thought it would be better to involve radio operators so that they could give us a warning. Hey, one bus coming, two buses coming. There was a point when we had 4 or 5 buses coming down at one time. And the buses that are leaving the visitor center have priority over all other traffic. So we have to stop all the other traffic and let those buses through. If we have a better warning for that they're coming, then we have a lot more time to stop people or get people to where they want to be before they have to wait for a little while for the buses. This worked so amazingly. Now, we didn't use ham bands for this, but we did use ham operators. We actually used the CCEMA 1 frequency, which is the Camden County EMA 1 frequency on our radios. It's county channel, county frequency, and it is on more of our stronger radios. So that was actually one of the problems that we experienced. Was we have some CERT radios, which are Bofang something. They're Bofang radios, and we were having a heck of a problem with getting past the Missouri Rock. The radios that were our normal county radios weren't having any issue. We worked around the problems, and let me tell you, it was so much easier to figure out what we were going to do and how we were going to work traffic when we had the warning that the buses were coming. The biggest thing that I would say was a benefit on that is that we figured out that there was about a 30-second to 45-second delay between the time that the amateur radio operator from the Benton County Aries told us that the buses were leaving up there and the time that they actually cleared the bottom of the driveway. So it gave us a little bit of time to get traffic settled. In some cases, when it was very busy on Saturday, it gave us enough time to get a bunch of cars through and get them down to where they could park below the dam. And all in all, the guys were amazing. We had Steven Swerline. I know he's KF6DRH. We had Renee Kaysen, and she's KE0LMZ. We had, of course, I operated with them. And then we had John, who, I'm sorry, I don't know his last name or his call sign. But John, hi, we had you. We'll put the information together and send it to Greg so he can put it in the comments on the video. It was probably one of the most amazing things that happened, and it was definitely one of the most helpful things that happened. So I recommend to other emergency management directors, don't be afraid to use amateur radio operators. They don't have to use amateur radio to be a huge help. Their knowledge and capability of communicating can be used on any radio that you give them permission to use. They can be used on so many things that are even more than just amateur radio bands. So give them a chance, explain to them what you need, and work with them because they are so willing to help. And in this day and age, that is priceless. So from the Camden County Emergency Management Agency to the Benton County Aries, thank you so much for your help during Warsaw Pioneer Heritage Days 2023. We hope to work with you guys again next year because the sponsors for the event have already asked us to come back to do traffic control again. So we appreciate you. Look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Sam. That was pretty good. All right,
Greg, all out of order here, bud.
You're out of order.
The whole room is out of order. Well, I can tell you guys, I definitely missed doing our fun time together and being able to shoot ham talk. But you know, real life, and when you're in emergency response, you don't really have a whole lot of control over your schedule.
Mhm.
So I
Yeah.
appreciate my co-hosts being understanding to the insanity that is my life. Thank you to all of our followers who have stayed with us our third year that
Yep.
we just brought.
This is episode 2 of the 3rd year.
Yeah, so wow. 3 years you guys have hung with us through our shenanigans and our craziness and the goofiness and the sometimes Greg and Andrea bring us actually educational things. JD's gonna fall in there somewhere. We already know he has a good sense of
I'm just kind of lost. I stumbled onto this website and I'm giving it a mic. No, I'm going to do some product. I'm the product review guy who hasn't had time to do any product reviews. However, I do have some good stuff to talk about, including a new scanner antenna, which is absolutely phenomenal from DBD Productions called the Omni X. And it's like night and day from anything you've ever heard. If there's any scanner people out there, we'll talk about that later. And also a Vico amplifier, which Greg wants me to review, which I'll be happy to do. I haven't had time, as Sam has indicated in her personal schedule, to actually do that. So maybe I will duplicate myself in the future and be able to have more time. So that's
Well,
that.
what you need to do is take a week vacation during Christmas and record all 3 of your product reviews, and then we'll spread them out over January, February, and March.
Well, thank you, Greg. That's
or
the busiest time of year for me, but I appreciate it.
right. Or you could always do what I'm attempting to do, which is break physics. And then you can just be everywhere you need to be at once. So
It violates Planck's constant, which says that a solid object cannot occupy 2 spaces at the same. There's some weird topics that come up here on this.
yes, there are. Yes, there are.
But the physics were good. You know, the
Yeah.
physics were good.
You know, we shock ourselves at some of the things we come up with.
And my second question, my
That's-
first question is going to be what gave you the indication that I was solid?
You know, here's a question. Whenever you're on an airliner, do you remember? Okay, here's a little question. Remember the crazy airplane lady who said that guy is not real? That I'm sitting. Remember that last year? So I was on an airliner the other day, and I was getting on the online Wi-Fi, and there's a little box that you have to check that says, "I am not a robot." I'm thinking that lady may have been onto something when she freaked out about the guy next to her. Am I crazy, or is there something there?
There's something there. And see,
I'm waiting
eventually,
for AI
all
to
time-
start answering the question.
No, I checked that I was not a robot. Then I, poured a drink in my lap and make sure. Yep, sure enough, I'm not. I'm real.
But when a robot's asking us if we're robots, I'm kind of worried.
Yeah, if you're having a conversation. By the way, AI chat is getting a little strange.
Oh,
Really?
yeah. We need to do an entire show on the AI thing and how the heck that works out with amateur radio too, by the way, because I am
I think that would seriously draw a crowd.
I've got to share a video with you guys. About a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I had gotten a all-in-one PC for running some software in the shack, and I think it's got Cortana or something on it.
Cortana.
Cortana, yeah. And then
When-
I got rid of it real quick. And then I've got my Mac with Siri. And I had said something, and the 2 of them started talking. And because they both responded to me at the same time, they started arguing with each other. And I'm sitting back, I pulled my phone up and I videoed it because my 2 computers are having an argument without me. And
Yes.
You better be careful, Andrea. You might start having that problem in the rover.
yeah,
I can't do that, Dave.
That is not a new problem.
That goes.
all right.
We were warned back in like the 70s about this coming.
Well,
Well,
we're
one of the
running
big
out of time on here.
I know. One of the biggest things I want to do before we wrap up this part of the show is give a huge thanks to our Hamsters Week Signal group, because without the support of the Hamsters Week Signal group, we couldn't bring you guys all of our wonderful banter every month. So a huge thank you to them. They've been on board ever since the very beginning, and they're very supportive of our efforts to, I don't know, sometimes lighten the mood, sometimes just bring a little entertainment to what could otherwise be a very, very argumentative, not nice world. So thank you to the Hamsters Week Signal group once again for supporting our show and just being so wonderful for the past 3 years. Anybody else have someone they want to thank while we're in the thank you section?
I just want to thank everybody on the show.
Yes.
You guys are all doing wonderful, and I'm excited for year 3. We've been slowly growing, and not only are we maturing, but the show is, I think. We've got some good stuff. I'm really looking forward to JD's segments and stuff on the products, if we ever get him to do them. And Andrea, I'm looking forward to the 905 roving someday. And Melissa, any day now, is going to have a show us your shack photo. So I'm looking forward to a lot of season 3 and everything. And I that's all I got. So I want to thank all of you guys for helping put on this show and moving us forward.
You know,
Christmas.
Melissa, at the rate that Greg keeps redoing his shack, you could just actually keep having Greg's shack as the shack of the month. So
And look at this shack over here, it's different. And look at this shack over here, it's different.
You want me to send the last 12 shacks?
all right. So Merry Christmas, everybody. From all of us at Ham Talk, we are so excited to start a whole nother year with you guys. And we look forward to all of the new segments and the new things that we have planned and what JD's finally going to bring to us.
Who knows?
And then we'll look forward to a competition between him and Andrea to see which one of them is funnier, because I see a little
Andrea.
face off.
Andrea.
Merry
All right.
Christmas, everybody.
From everybody at Ham Talk.
Merry
Bye.
Christmas.